We haven't spoken directly about bank accounts. Now, we've used them, we've written checks, we've made deposits, we've even added cash contributions from an owner using the GL. So you know a majority of your transactions and how they'll work. Bank accounts are like all other accounts, and they have a register that you can work with, as well as the check window, the deposit window, and those things that affect it as well. The one task that we do need to do, though, that we need to address now, is how to reconcile a bank account. Now, if you're not sure why you need to do that, we need to have another discussion, but that's not for now, that's for a different time. So let's suffice it to say that by reconciling the account, we can simply ensure that we have all of our transactions entered correctly and that the bank's records match our own. It's important that you do this on a regular basis. Usually people do it monthly when they receive their statements, but you absolutely have to make sure you do it before you close out the books. This is the time to make sure that everything matches. I'm also going to be giving you a few hints throughout this particular lesson. The first is to check and make sure that you're in the right accounting period. Now, because of what we're doing here, I do need to make a quick change. I am working with period 9. I am going to be closing out or reconciling the account for September, but my system date currently isn't set to the end of the month. So just to be consistent, I'm going to go ahead and open this up and just change it to September 30th, since that's the date that our bank account will be reconciled as of. Hopefully that'll be a pretty simple change, and you should have known how to do that before, but just a little bit of review. Now, moving on. If your bank shows deposits listed separately and you group them together by deposit ID, you should print the bank deposit report from the account reconciliation category of the reports window, and this will allow you to go ahead and figure out which deposits went into which entries for the bank receipt. They just have to be the same. If your bank account is put together by deposit ID and your statement shows it that way, fine, there won't be any problems. The next thing we'll do is simply start the reconciliation by going up to Tasks and coming almost all the way down to the bottom and choosing Account Reconciliation. Naturally, the first thing you need to do is tell Peachtree which account you want to be reconciling. And for us, it's going to be our regular checking account. That, of course, will show you a lot of information as well as some summaries. At the top, we can see checks and bank debits. Right now, 0 have cleared with a 0 amount, and the same for deposits and credits because we haven't selected anything yet. If you're working with a large statement, you can use the drop-down and show all of your checks and bank debits as opposed to all of your deposits and bank credits. Since we don't have a lot of transactions, I'm just going to leave it where it shows everything. Then, of course, on the right-hand side, you want to make sure that you have the correct and current statement date. If you move down to the bottom of the window, then you'll see that you have the opportunity to enter a couple of kind of miscellaneous pieces of information. Did you earn any interest on this statement? And if so, what was the date? And what account do you want to attribute that to? And likewise, are you charged any bank service charges? The date and the account that goes to. Typically, it's going to be miscellaneous or bank interest income and simple bank charges as an expense account. Then you need to move to the right-hand side, and this is really the first active step that you always have to do, and that is to put in the balance that's showing on the end of your statement. Ours happens to be $6,416.50. Now we can start to get to work with the reconciliation. What we can see is that according to Peachtree, we currently have a certain amount of outstanding checks, a certain amount of outstanding deposits, and then what Peachtree says our GL or our system balance should be. Right now, it's telling us that the unreconciled difference is $6,415.50 because that's what we put in as our balance, but we haven't marked anything off yet. The next process is to simply go up to our window and start comparing our window to our bank statement and checking off what's cleared. Now I'm going to go ahead and place a couple of check marks. I'm going to clear all of our deposits. And then if we look down at the bottom right, we can see that our current unreconciled difference is $1 off. Okay, well that's very interesting, and that's what we need to start taking a look at. There are several hints or tips that I can give you about reconciling your account. And there aren't any hard and fast rules, but basically you need to make sure that you balance everything. So after you've checked the clear box for each entry that you have, everything should be checked and it should be in balance. If it's not, then you need to start taking a look at why not. If you have discrepancies, look for transactions that are missing in Peachtree. If there are none, then look for incorrect amounts entered in Peachtree. Did you accidentally mark something as cleared that's not? Did you enter bank charges and interest charges correctly? Here's kind of some accounting magic for you that's really a big help. At least when I learned it, I found it very helpful. If you add up the digits of the unreconciled difference amount, if they add up to 9, you most likely have transposed a number. Somewhere in your data entry, you simply have a transposed number, as opposed to having missed something. So maybe that can help you narrow it down. So what we need to take a look at is, why are we $1 off? And that always is, of course, the big question. I haven't checked any of my checks, and I can see that none of them are for $1. So that's an easy way to say, I don't think that's it. What I might be able to do is go back and look at my statement and say, well, maybe I typed something in incorrectly. Is $6,415.50 really my ending balance? And it turns out that this is my oversight. I need to come down and actually change this to $6,416.50. And then when I press tab, then of course everything balances. Now that was a pretty easy fix, and I'll be the first to tell you that reconciling your accounts aren't always this easy. If you do them on a monthly basis, of course it is easier because you have fewer transactions to try to recall and try to fix. So we've given you a few hints, but what happens if you actually can't get it to balance? You've been through everything and you're a little bit off. Well, there's kind of a general business rule, and I have to admit to you, I don't like it. I like things to balance. Money has to be somewhere. It just doesn't disappear. But sometimes, especially for larger businesses, they figure anything less than about $5 is not worth wasting your time. So if you have gone through everything that you can and you simply can't find why you are off, then you can go ahead and make an adjustment. You would do that by moving up to the top of your screen and clicking the Adjust button. And this is going to open up a GL window so that you can make a general journal entry and make the adjustment. Remember, money can't just disappear and things do have to balance. So here's kind of the hint for you as well. You're going to make one adjustment to the cash account, and then you're going to make another one to either an income or an expense account, depending on what you're trying to do. If your unreconciled amount is positive, then you want to debit the cash account. If your unreconciled amount is negative, then you're going to credit the cash account. Once you get all of this finished, you'll simply save the adjustment and then make sure that you clear that, and that should put everything back into balance. Now, we've done general ledger entries before, so we're not going to take the time to do them again. I'm simply going to close out of this window, and now you know how to make the adjustments if necessary. Once everything balances, then you can go ahead and move up to the reports window, and you can print many different types of reports, one of which might be the account reconciliation report. This is simply going to say, what did you do? What did the reconciliation do? Were there any adjustments? What did you clear? Those types of things. I'll go ahead and get out of that because you know how to run reports. We can see at the top our summary. We did not clear any checks or debits because, frankly, the checks were written near the end of the month and the statement came out before any of them were cleared. But we did go ahead and clear 2 of our deposits, totaling $6,416.50. We're in balance. I can go ahead and say OK. That means that up until September 30th, all of my accounts are reconciled and I know that everything matches. Again, if you do this on a monthly basis, it will be much, much easier. You have to trust me on that one with my years of experience.